First, I think we need to recognize that President Obama and Democratic Party, which Felecia is a member of, is proposing amnesty for millions of people after the November election. I believe it's very, very important that we uphold our laws. We are a nation of laws, and anything that undermines that undermines our constitutional system of government. The Constitution clearly provides that Congress will have a role when it comes to immigration, and the President is trying to undermine that. As far as what we can do as Arizonans, we need an Attorney General that can work with federal, state, and local law enforcement to bring those resources, as I've done throughout my career. I'm the only person running that's actually prosecuted gang cases, that's prosecuted violent felons, and that's what it takes. We need to make sure that we aggressively pursue the cartels and the leadership of the cartels that are smuggling drugs and people into this country and perpetuating violence in our neighborhoods. We also need to make sure, and a corollary to this, is that we're doing everything we can to investigate and prosecute those that are involved in the sex trafficking trade.
Well, first off, as Attorney General, it is my job to protect and serve the people of Arizona and to protect families. I need to address Mr. Brnovich's comments because I am the only candidate in this race that has actually returned hundreds of millions of dollars to victims of fraud. And Mr. Brnovich wants to continue to talk about his record as being a prosecutor of violent criminals and doing jury trials in that regard. Well, if that's the only thing it takes to be qualified to be Attorney General, then I'm afraid Mr. Brnovich is either naive or doesn't understand the depth and breadth of the Attorney General's office. The depth and breadth of the Attorney General's office means you need to be a good administrator and you need to be able to work across the aisle and work with Republicans and Democrats. Let me tell you about what I will do in answering your question, because I don't think Mr. Brnovich really ever answered your question. The Attorney General, as the top law enforcement officer, will work with all levels of law enforcement and make sure that we go after the violent criminals, and in particular the coyotes who are bringing the humans across the border, smuggling them for profit. When I was the head of the Department of Financial Institutions, I was the first one to go after companies like Western Union who were facilitating the smuggling of humans by allowing the funds to flow into the smugglers' hands and give them the profit that they were trying to make. But I'm here to tell you today that Mr. Brnovich really wants to run against President Obama. And that's because the polling shows he can win if his opponent is Mr. Obama. But his opponent is me, with a 17-year record of results, protecting and serving the people of Arizona. You don't get my record of results without being in the courtroom, without going in front of grand juries, and really making sure that people are safe. I'm the only candidate that has made Arizona safer, and Mr. Brnovich is the one that worked for private prisons and allowed dangerous criminals to come into Arizona and into the private prisons.
You know, I think that one of the unfortunate things about politics today is people don't want to talk about their own accomplishments, and instead they want to tear down their opponents. And I will just say that the records, the facts speak for themselves. I think Arizonans want and expect an Attorney General that has been in the courtroom, that has stared down violent criminals, someone that doesn't exaggerate their resume, has one position on one thing one day and has another position another day. And at the end of the day, we need to recognize, and Ms. Rotellini didn't address this, but President Obama is about to grant amnesty to millions of people here. It is going to have a huge impact on Arizona, and if we don't have an Attorney General that appreciates that, is going to fight back against the Obama administration, we have a problem, because he is the president, and he's the president of her party, which he has been a member of for 4 decades. And so we need to be ready for that, and we need an Attorney General that understands that and is going to push back against President Obama.
I really need to rebut that, if you don't mind. First and foremost, I am on record that I do not support an executive order that is being contemplated by President Obama as a means of going around the legislative process. What we need is comprehensive immigration reform to get these folks out of the shadows, to do criminal background checks, to make sure that they are taxpayers, that we make sure the criminals, the dangerous criminals, are not in this country. But most importantly, Mr. Brnovich is wrong when he talks about someone like myself who's not going to face up to the federal government. My record is clear that I'm independent. I've spent 17 years in the trenches, working across party lines as a Republican and as a with Republicans and Democrats. So I thank you for an opportunity to rebut. But I also think Mr. Brnovich is misleading. There's no record that this executive order is going to provide amnesty at all to these individuals. And in fact, I don't support amnesty. I support an opportunity for these people to come out of the shadows and apply for citizenship just like anyone else.
I think that is one of the key distinctions. My opponent trusts President Obama to do the right thing, and I think what the last few years have shown is that President Obama is willing to do whatever he wants.
And I take exception because he's putting words in my mouth, and there's no way that he has the evidence to say that I am in that position. Mark, you know that that's not true. You and I both know that that's not true, that I'm on record saying that I don't support the executive order. So you can try to put words in my mouth, and you can try to compete against President Obama. President Obama's not running. You're going to have to run against my record and no one else's record.
I understand that. And I will just say, voters can listen to that back. She just said that she does not think President Obama is going to do that. And I will make you a 100%.
I did not say that. I simply said that you keep putting words in my mouth, Mr. Brnovich, and you can try to bully me, and you can try to take advantage and take over this interview by not even answering the questions that this person wants you to ask, and make this about some kind of attack on me, but I'm not going to let you hijack this interview. I have said on the record, I've said on TV, that I don't support the executive order that President Obama is contemplating. Mr. Brnovich wants to run against President Obama. He wants to run from his record, and he wants to criticize mine while I'm here and he has to face me.
Okay. Anything else to add?
I'm actually afraid to start talking because I'm afraid I'm going to get interrupted again. And I will just say I don't want to filibuster this interview. Folks can see this. It's going to be available online. I think that our words and actions will speak for themselves.
Okay. All right.